Hello friends, James Stevenson back with part one of my latest forecast video review series. I do these every time I update my Tesla forecast in any significant way. Yesterday I sent out a 69 tweet thread, one of my characteristic duration threads, and I'm just going to walk you through that thread in this video. I posted this thread last night. It takes hours to send all the tweets out with all the visuals and not screw it up. I have screwed it up in previous years at some point during the process. It's easy to do when you're sending 70 tweets to get something wrong. So it takes hours to look them all over and send them all out and not break your thread on the way. And so I was whooped. I was exhausted after having sent that thread out last night. Went to bed, woke up this morning. Stephen Mark Ryan has already done a video reviewing my forecast thread. I haven't recorded the first video yet, and he's done. He went through, he did about a half-hour video. I'll probably put a link in the video description so you can go check it out with his take on all the charts in my forecast thread. He doesn't talk about the tables, which are most of those tweets, but the charts are the part most people show up for. I think the nerds probably ought to care a little more about the numbers than the visuals. But hey, people like different things, right? So without further ado, we'll check in with Loki, my co-host, who is trying his best to nap and get some more shut-eye this morning. He hasn't had breakfast yet. Maybe I'll feed him breakfast during one of these videos. Let's go to share my desktop and show you the first tweet in the thread. I did plug my YouTube channel. You're there. You did the right thing. You found it. Yeah, the growth story continues. Let's check out this chart. Does this fit the screen okay? Yeah, it fits the screen fine. So the thing that I finally added after all these years, I figured out that on most of these charts where I have both actuals and my forecast, I can just label them. So that's what I did. So I put this lighter, very light gray box next to the time axis to indicate where there are actuals. Now I know that most people are perfectly capable of differentiating the past from the future, and they can look at this chart and tell which time periods are actuals and which time periods are forecasts, which is why I never labeled it previously. But I kept getting the feedback from so many people, hey, people are going to think that your forecast is actuals unless you somehow label them or indicate that they're a forecast. So I put a darker gray box next to the time periods that are me forecasting. So that way it doesn't interrupt the visual, it doesn't change the flow, it doesn't complicate things unnecessarily. I just have labels now on all these charts that tell you what's actuals and what's forecast. So what do we have here? These are all the models Tesla makes. So Fremont Model S and Fremont Model X used to be most of what Tesla sold. Before they sold Model 3, that was all Tesla was selling. If you don't count the original Roadster, Tesla sold like 2,200 of total. Counting the 3 they found in a shipping container in China that are on auction currently with 0 on the odometer. So then Model 3 came along. That's this promenade green color here, very light green. Then we have the darker blue representing the Fremont Model Y. So that's the first place Tesla started making Model Ys. Then they opened the Shanghai Gigafactory to produce Model 3. That's shown in red here, and the Shanghai Model Y shown in yellow. You can see this is Tesla's primary export hub, serving parts of the world that aren't served by Fremont or now Giga Berlin. So that's where a lot of Tesla's production has been coming from lately, and where most of Tesla's deliveries have been coming from, if you're very eagle-eyed, you can spot that in Q1 of 2023, both of these locations did a little less. And that's because they had holidays in Q1 that they were shut down for, and some downtime for retooling in Q1. Nowhere near as bad as in Q2 of 2022. This is when the Shanghai lockdowns happened. You can see the pinching on the yellow and red bands here is pronounced, and there was no such thing happening at Fremont, right? There were no lockdowns at Fremont in California in Q2 of 2022, but Shanghai was locked down at that time. So this is going to be a pretty easy year-over-year comp for Tesla to beat on production and on deliveries, because they ought to have this factory running at nearly full strength. So they've got 12 weeks of production this quarter, and I'm forecasting them to have 13 weeks of production in Q3, which is just about the only quarter of the year you can plan on the Tesla running all 13 weeks. Without needing to pay big overtime premiums for forcing people to work on a national holiday in China. So what's on top of that? Well, we've got purple for Berlin Model Y here. We've got a lighter violet here for Texas Model Y. I'm doing pretty good naming colors for a colorblind guy, right? If you don't like my colors, blame it on my colorblindness. I'm a little bit colorblind. I can see colors, but I fail those color blindness dot tests sometimes. Not all of them, but some of them. And Cybertruck is here in the light silver. Some might say a mirror finish steel color to go with Cybertruck's exterior. That ought to be the only paint option coming out of the Tesla Giga Austin factory, the no paint option. The best paint is no paint. The best painting process is no painting process. And then Semi, I have shown in the yellow legend here, you can barely make out any Semi deliveries from Q3 to Q4 of 2025. That's because this is just going to be such a low volume production vehicle. I would love to be wrong about that and have Tesla make tons of these semis, but I think it's going to remain a low production volume model for a while into the future. And that is my first chart in the thread. Let me show you one more before I end the video. I can do that pretty quickly. There's a lot of similar information on it. So yesterday, a notorious short seller claimed Tesla would never sell more than 400,000 vehicles in a quarter again. I don't want to give his name out, but it rhymes with mouse. Meanwhile, Tesla continues expanding global production of its S3, X, and Y lineup, and record deliveries will follow in 2023 and into the future. Yeah, Tesla's not building these factories as a joke. They intend to run them, to ramp them up to full design capacity, and then sell those vehicles, and that's what they're going to do. I am forecasting production and deliveries the same way I did last quarter, and last quarter Tesla beat my production estimate by 0.15%. So if you see this 2023 number here and say, hey James, over 500,000, you're the only one forecasting that many deliveries. Well, I don't know what to tell you, except I forecast independently, and that is what my forecast model kicked out. I make very detailed, granular assumptions at a detailed level that you'll see much later in this video forecast review series, if you stick around for all of it. And I'll explain to you how I build up to this number. It's just thinking about every model produced at every site, how many weeks of production there's going to be, and at what production efficiency they're going to be making vehicles, and then how much ending inventory do we think there's going to be. If you know those things, you can do the math and figure out what the deliveries are going to be, and that is how I build up to this number. I'm not shooting from the hip on it. I am doing a very nuanced build-up. And with that, I guess I will end this video. What is there to say about this bar chart? It's just showing you what's going on here. and that the growth story is going to continue. What other possible outcome could there have been, right? Tesla's ramping up production from Berlin and Austin. Those by themselves are going to drive Model Y deliveries higher, which is what you're seeing here. I don't have a lot of crazy growth in here for the S, the 3, and the X. These numbers are pretty close to what Tesla has reported in previous quarters, right? Just a little bit higher, and then really plateauing there for the next couple of years, with Model Y accounting for almost all of the growth. And with that, I will check back in with Sleeping Loki, who has not moved. And I'll say, if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click the like button on whatever platform you're viewing this video, YouTube or Twitter or Patreon. If you subscribe to me through either one of those, you get early access to my videos the same day that I upload them. If you don't subscribe to me, you still get access to these videos. I'm just going to release one per day because that's how the YouTube algorithm works. If I publish more than one per day, YouTube will only promote the most recent one. So I don't do that because those videos that weren't the last one published would die in obscurity with no one having watched them. So thank you to everyone who supports me. I recommend Twitter as the best way to subscribe to me. It's the cheapest way to support me, 69 cents per week. You get access to exclusive tweets when I send them, which isn't all the time, but I do send some subscriber exclusive tweets that are too mean or too contentious, perhaps, to tweet publicly. And you get early access to these videos that way. You also do on Patreon, or you can join my YouTube channel as my executive producers, Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com did at the highest support tier, earning them a special thank you at the end of every video, and I'll see you in the next one.